Today we're tackling a question that has created some serious heated debates over the past several decades. And that's, is it better to steam or iron your clothes? We're talking about them today. Stick around. Fellas, welcome back. It's Robert, your everyday gentleman. And if you watched my recent video on my travel tips, then you might already have an idea of what my preference is when it comes to the iron versus the steamer. Now, if you've been around my channel since day one, when I first started uploading videos, you might recall that in this room, I used to have an ironing board behind me, but I've gotten rid of that ironing board and, spoiler alert, switched mainly to steaming. And I'm gonna explain to you the specifics as to why. Now, if you're new to my channel, I wanna thank you for clicking on this video. Again, my name is Robert. Here, I talk about anything to do with men's lifestyle, whether it's fashion, fragrances, fitness, grooming, cigars, whiskey, really anything I feel encompasses being a man in today's age. I invite you to subscribe and engage in the comments down below. And to my returning subscribers, I want to thank you for your continued support. And with that, let's jump into it. Now, there's a number of benefits when it comes to steaming versus ironing. First off, to me, and again, this is just my opinion, it's a much easier process than ironing. I mean, you really don't need much more than the steamer itself. You don't need an ironing board, you pretty much just need the hanger that the shirt's most likely on already, and you're ready to go. Now, steaming is also much more gentle on your clothes, which means your clothes could potentially last longer. There's no risk of singeing or burning your clothes like you could do with an iron. And in addition, from my experience at least, irons will build up this layer on them over time. It's kind of like a brown layer. I'm not sure exactly what it is, whether it's just like burned off fibers that build up over time. But then what ends up happening is you take that iron, you've got that layer that has built up on your iron's heated surface, and then when you try to press a shirt, especially when you're trying to press a collar or something like that, that transfers onto the fabric itself, and then you've ruined a perfectly good white shirt, or just ruined the shirt, because my experience again, I haven't been able to remove it whenever that's been transferred onto the clothing. Now, this might be because irons require more of a setting when it comes to ironing your clothes. There's different heat that you can apply to the iron depending on whatever fabric you're using, whether it's something more delicate like silk or something that requires more heat like cotton or linen. You've got to adjust that heat on there to make sure that you're not, again, singeing or burning the clothes or damaging it. And the great thing is that's something you don't have to worry about with steamers. Now, steaming is also a great way to refresh your clothes. It kills bacteria. It can get rid of some smells as long as it's not too funky. But it's a great way to offer a refreshment to your clothes without having to wash it, which again could potentially make your clothes last longer, because as you know, the more you wash your clothes, the more it starts to deteriorate and the less it's going to last you. And lastly, steamers have other benefits aside from using it to remove wrinkles from your clothes. I've used steamers in the past to remove wrinkles off of things like drapes. Now, I haven't tried this one myself, but I have heard that you can use a steamer to kill bacteria off some regular household items like kids' toys or something like that. But again, I haven't tried that myself, and just make sure you're using it on something that isn't going to get damaged by the steam. And another use for it that I have tried for myself, I've actually used my travel steamer to give myself a steam prior to actually shaving. Now, I do recommend you be careful not to burn yourself, because again, you are using steam, but there's many benefits to using steam prior to actually shaving. I won't get into them today, but it's a hack that you can use with a steamer. Now, despite all the advantages that a steamer has, there are some cons that you just can't get like you get from an iron. For example, if you have a dress shirt and you want a really crisp shirt, you want some creases on the sleeves, or you want a really crisp, sharp collar, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to get that with a steamer. The iron is just going to be the better way to go. Another thing that really I wouldn't necessarily say is a con, more of something you just be aware of when it comes to a steamer, is because you are using steam, it's water, sometimes that water builds up on the nozzle, from what my experience has been. And depending on certain type of fabrics like silk or satin, things like that, that are a little more sensitive to getting water on them and seeing a water spot, you got to be careful that when you're using the steamer, it doesn't drop some of that built up water, some of that built up condensation that comes on there, and then just create a water spot on your shirt. I don't really wear silk or anything like that too much, but if you have like a silk tie or something that has some wrinkles on it that you want to get rid of, and you want to use your steamer to kind of get rid of that, just be careful when it comes to those items. However, outside of these two things, I really can't think of any other disadvantages that a steamer has over an iron. However, I am open to hearing from you, so if you can think of any, put those in the comments down below. I'd love to hear them. Who knows, maybe you can convince me to switch back to an iron. It's doubtful, but it's possible. So now that you know why I prefer to use a steamer over an iron, I'm gonna give you a quick little run through on how I use my steamer. Now, it's highly recommended that you use distilled water when you're using a steamer or an iron for that matter. And the reason you want to do that is because if you don't, then you're gonna end up with this green funk here, like what I have on my steamer. Now, from my understanding, what this does really is it's gonna mess up the compartments inside the unit. But like I said, I've had this thing for a long time and it's worked pretty well. It hasn't given me any issues. Steam comes out just fine. But optimally, you don't want to use that. I'm using distilled water now, but you know, obviously I haven't done that the entire time that I had this. Now I'm filming this by myself, so I went ahead and just filled this up without filming it, but you get the idea. You just remove that nozzle there, or that cap has a little button there that releases the water once you lay it down. You put it into the compartment, there it goes. And yeah, I'm gonna need a new steamer soon, but for now it's working, so not a bad deal. You switch it on and then you wait for the steam to start coming up. I don't know if you can make it out too well with this lighting, but the shirt is pretty wrinkled. It's not terribly wrinkled where it has a ton of creases, but let me see if I can get some more wrinkles on there. But we're gonna get some wrinkles out of this shirt here that I haven't worn in a bit. But basically what you do is you've got the nozzle, and I'll hang it up here from where the nozzle is. And I like to start with the back of the shirt. And you basically just get the nozzle, and with one hand, let me make sure I'm not in the way here. With one hand, you hold the garment, and with the other hand, I like to do it underneath. I know some people will do it on top, but I like to go underneath. And you can see the steam coming through, and you basically just glide it down the fabric, and it starts removing some of those wrinkles. Now, I don't know if you can see here some of the wrinkles from wearing the shirt. Get those on my back. Let's try to get rid of those here. And again, what this is doing is just softening the fibers of the fabric, and it helps those wrinkles come out. Now those wrinkles, some wrinkles are extremely hard to do, and even with an iron, they're just not gonna come out. Especially if it's something that's been happening to the garment over some time. It's just gonna be near impossible to get those out, but the steamer will help to eliminate those. I mean, you're gonna get those. I don't worry too much about these wrinkles on the back, because I mean, you're gonna be sitting down, it's gonna get wrinkled anyway. So I focus more on the front. Now on the front, I like to make sure that I button all the way down. I know some people like to have it open. I prefer it to have it buttoned down. I don't button every button, but I make sure it's buttoned down to the bottom just to make sure I have some good connection there. The reason I do that is just because it makes it easier for me to just get under here and do it as one piece as opposed to two separate pieces on the flaps. And you're basically doing the same thing. Just get under it and slide that through. Let the steam do all the work. All you're doing is just running that nozzle up and down the fabric. And then one of the things that I really like about the steamer is I'll get on here and just kind of soften the collar. But I'm sure you've seen on my videos, I like to wear my shirts open. I like to remove this button and this button, or unbutton this button and this button. So what I do is I don't like it to kind of flap open. I like to have this shape here. So I'll get in here and just open it up and run the steamer down this really softly. And what that does is it kind of helps the fabric to hold that shape without actually creasing it like an iron would. You know, you get that there, just kind of run it through a little bit, and as that cools, it kind of helps to hold that shape. And then when I unbutton this here, it kind of keeps that shape still together, more like this. as opposed to looking like this, which I don't like how that looks. I prefer it to look like this, still kind of look like it's open, but not necessarily stay open like if it were like that. But that's pretty much it when it comes to a steamer. Now, as I said, I am looking to upgrade my steamer. My steamer's been with me for quite some time, like I said, but it looks like it might need some replacement here soon. So I'm looking at a few different ones, and I'm gonna link down below which ones I've been looking at. Now, as always, if you found value in this video, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button down below, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you catch all future videos from this channel. Again, fall is coming up, so I'm gonna be putting out some good content when it comes to fragrances and fashion, and even some dating advice that you're gonna be interested in hearing. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss those videos. And remember, being a gentleman is an everyday thing. Till the next time, fellas.
We bop and pretty hot. I'm as happy as I